Hello. Some time ago I was working on this. It's a Sony J30 analog and digital Betacam player with SDI and FireWire outputs. I've always wanted one of these, but unfortunately this one needed too many parts replaced. I couldn't source them. It'd be really nice if I could get hold of a replacement scrap J30 or even a very similar J3 that could offer up some of the parts I require. But I've not been able to get hold of one. Oh, I say. I wonder what's in this. Let's have a look. It's a Sony J3. Oh look, it says BBC Resources on the top, so that tells you something about its previous life. Now, I already have a Sony J3 in my studio and it works, but I haven't used it for several years because that one doesn't have the SDI digital output option, and that's something that really I think is quite important. So let's have a look at this one. There's a scratch or crack there. Let's have a look around the back. This does have the SDI digital output. That makes it much more useful. So my plans for this: either fix it, assuming it doesn't work, or use it to fix my J30, or even use it to fix my J30 and also transplant that SDI option to my J3. All kinds of possibilities in there. Right, this is my J30. The thing I love about the J30, one thing I like about it, is it has the infrared remote control option, which the J3 doesn't. Cosmetically, this J30 is well mashed up. Headphone socket's wonky, there's a big break in the plastic there, same place as there, but much worse. Clearly that's the bit that breaks if you hit that. This front's all hanging off. The display doesn't work because somebody's hacked it up and you can't get a replacement display or parts for it. There's not even any schematics for that. Sony kept all that a secret. So I don't know to what extent parts could be swapped around here when this doesn't have that. This one I think has got a dead spot on the capstan motor. So actually, from what I remember, this one will play a tape, but is struggling because the tape transport is uneven due to the dead spot on the capstan motor. This, I understand, gives an error message. We'll have to investigate what these machines do and to what extent I could fix one of these and or find the upgrade parts I need for my J3. Okay. Let's start, I think, by testing my old J30, which I last played with some time ago, and then test this one. Okay, I've switched this J30 on. It's put a black screen through on there, but no display on here. Will it take a tape? Okay, so it's playing very, very badly. Actually, I think that tape is NTSC, so that's not fair. You'd have to set the machine up for NTSC, which means going through some menu settings. Can I even get to them? Yes, I can actually. So, how do you set it to NTSC? You press that button. Press set, it says. Press set and then power cycle. This was the same tape as I was using to play with a portable NTSC Betacam machine recently before the DC-DC converter literally blew up. Okay, so that's actually playing, but it sounds awful. And it's unstable, and that's because we've got a bad capstan motor. Okay, let's see now what happens if we try the J3 we've been given. This one doesn't have stereo line out, only mono, just different. So switch that one on. This one we get a nice display, that all comes on nicely. Ugh. Okay, didn't load the tape, so we have some faults to fix, don't we? Let's investigate. So I sort of need to think, where are my priorities here? We have the J30, which would be my favourite machine, but there's a lot wrong with that. We have this J3, which has faults, but that does have the SDI output. And then downstairs I have a perfect working J3 with no SDI output. Would it be worth taking the SDI boards off this and installing that in the one downstairs? Is that even possible? Or should I try to fix this? Interesting. What bits shall I swap around, or what should I try to do? I think first I'll do is have a look at this J3 and see if I can work out what's wrong with it, rather than just break it up for parts. Right, let's get the lid off and see why it's not accepting a tape. Now, there are those who argue there is no connection at all between domestic Betamax and professional Betacam, and this is untrue. So I'm going to be testing this with a domestic Betamax tape, because this machine will play Betacam oxide formula tapes, which are, for all intents and purposes, Betamax tapes with different recordings on them. And I like these tapes because they have two windows, so you can see what's going on. I just find that helpful. Right, so power it up. Display's lit up, which you can't quite see from that angle. So when I tried to put the tape in earlier, it sort of jammed at this point. Interesting. Do you know what I'm going to try next, actually, is a large Betacam tape, if I have one to hand. Okay, a large Betacam SP tape, because that would eliminate any possible problems with the sliders for the reels, the tables. No, okay. One possibility is we could borrow the entire cassette carriage assembly from the J30, at least to help isolate where our faults are, because I think the carriage will probably come off quite easily. If the problem doesn't jump out and hit me, I might do that. What I'm going to do is get the machine, I'm going to power the machine up, put this Betamax, if you like, tape in, get it into the jam condition, and then have a look at what's jamming. And switch it off. So it's powered up, put the tape in, and then when it jams I'll power it off. Oh, do you know, I think it went further that time, did it? Oh dear. Right, I'll power it off there. It's in an interesting mess, this cassette carriage, isn't it? What can happen is the cassette carriage motor, the gear on its spindle can snap and cause a lack of drive, but I don't think that's the case here, because if I try to drive it by hand, it's jamming up as well, I think. Oh, I can eject it that way. Might it just be that? I'm sure it'll have other faults. And it seemed to be jamming, not just stopping. I had a case a while ago with a J3. Not this one or my other one. I have yet another one which has an SDI option. And the fault on that one was that the large tapes couldn't be ejected unless the machine was on its side. And that was the motor coupling. But I don't think that's the case here. Alright, so let's power it up again. And stop it there. Right, it stopped at the earlier position. And now see if I can drive it forward. Well, yes. Oh, it's going down. It does seem a little stiff though, a little croaky. No, it's jamming up there. Jamming at that point. And the carriage, I think the carriage is going in wonky. The carriage doesn't feel well. Right, eject from there. Yeah, you could see the cassette was starting to tip forwards. And it does seem a bit stiff at that point in the eject cycle. Where are the real tables now? Oh, they're in the outer position. Well, it wouldn't take that tape then, would it? Alright. Let's try loading the large tape again, and this time I'll stop it and then I'll help it. Come on, machine. Booted. Okay. Well, it's laced. That's fully down. Right, I tried to play then, and it rattled a bit and went into an error code. Okay, error 036035. I don't know what that means yet. The noise it made me think that that might well have been... This may also have a bad capstan motor. Let's power cycle it. Okay, power cycled. That unlace seems a bit slow. I'm going to try fast forward. No, we went into a different error code, but another error code. Power cycle. I'm sure rewind won't work, but let's give it a go. Rewind. No, straight into an error code. So our problems are much deeper than just a cassette carriage problem. Now, it laces up okay. Is that the right speed or is that a little slow? From this point, it sort of half works. And if I went into play pause, it would probably do play pause if I could get it quick enough. Do you know what we haven't tried is connecting this to a monitor with this tape? Let's just do that for a moment. Okay, so it does appear to be attempting to sort of play the tape. As I attempt to progress the tape forward or backward on that, the tape is not going anywhere. Is it? No, not really. But look at the capstan. Is the capstan rotating? I think it is. We have a major failure in lace-up, don't we? Look. It's laced, but completely missed these guides. The tape is nowhere near the capstan and pinch roller. Oh dear. Right. Now we're getting a bit closer to our problems. Something obviously went terribly wrong when it laced up, that we're completely missing guides here. So let's unlace. How am I going to do that? Switch off and on. and I think it will unlace. And let's have a look at the lacing sequence, because something's terribly wrong. Yeah, that's all over the place. Unlace, let's eject. Oh dear. No. Put it out of its misery. So I think this motor is failing, but we also have a serious tape path fault that's causing the tape not to go out to the capstan and pinch roller. Shall we compare that against the J30, which does lace up properly? I've powered up the J30, although there's nothing on the display on this one. And we'll have a look at how it laces up. There's this big, this arm here will clearly swing across and bring the tape up to the capstan. Let's watch that. Do it with the Betamax tape. Okay, so this arm here brings the tape out before the pinch roller is lowered. Right, let's look at this arm and what's driving it on our J3. Looking at the J3, that arm is stuck out here already when it's supposed to be unlaced. So that's all over the place. This arm is our problem. Right, let's get the tape out of here and investigate that mechanism. I think I should be able to just wind the tape out. So what is wrong with this arm? As it could well be a problem with what's underneath the deck at this point. But let's just have a look and see if it just got stuck out here for some reason. No, there's going to be a cam for that underneath the deck, and we're going to have a look at it. Okay, let's... I can't remember how good the access is underneath. I think there's a big board underneath the deck, but we're going to have a look at that and find out what's jamming that arm up there. I don't think it's a simple lubrication issue. Not from what I can see. Okay, the cam in question is going to be about here. So we'll have to take that board out of the way a little bit. Okay, this board unplugs, but whether the machine will run without it, I don't know. Still got a cable there. So we're now getting deep into the mechanism as we look at the this is the loading motor and why that arm is in the wrong place. This is going to be quite involved. Let's completely unplug this board. I don't want to damage it. Now we did see that when it completed the loading, the lacing up, that the pinch roller was dropped down. So the drive to the pinch roller through these gears from this gear here must all be correct. Our problem is around this gear, which is presumably a cam of some sort to drive the arm, the tension arm, and how that arm is connected to this gear, which we can't really see much of on the other side. Okay, the lacing motor here drives this first gear, and we know that must be working because the rest of the gears are working. And that gear there is the one that is a cam to this arm. So either it's broken on the top, or for some reason this arm has become disengaged from where it's supposed to be in this first gear. I wonder if I can get to that first gear. I don't think I can terribly easily. Am I right about that? Or is there another layer of gears that I haven't seen yet? It might be that there's another gear in there, which is the one I'm seeing at the top. So I'm thinking this one here may not be the one we're supposed to be connected to on that arm. It may be another one that's driven from here, and we just can't see any of that mechanism because it's buried under this. But if I start pulling that apart, I may mistime things, so I've got to be a bit careful. Alright, I'm going to power it again and get it to lace a bit, and I want to see the movement of this gear here, whether that one makes any movement. There's a ridge there, so I should be able to see it. This is where the Betamax tape comes in handy again. But the trouble is these are set out, so no, I can't use the Betamax tape because they're in the wrong position. They should be in for small tape. We do seem to have multiple faults going on here. Yes. That one is moving. Did you see it? That is moving, but this arm is in the wrong place. Power it down. I'm going to give that a bit of a nudge when I hit eject and see if it might catch its proper location. Let's try that. Or indeed if it just does an unlace now. Oh look. Got it to move then. Come on. Oh, please don't go back in. I'm trying to get the tape out. Alright, do it by hand. So it might just be a lubrication issue with that loading arm. This just feels, yes, this is not moving freely. That's sticky. Okay, there we have one of our faults. So there's a lubrication issue on the base of this arm. Oh good, that doesn't look too hard to fix. So we can get that problem solved at least. Right, let's take the spring off. We'll disconnect from one end. Not quite sure how it's connected up at the other end. There we go. Right. Remove that spring. We'll take off this small circlip off the top. Now the arm may lift up. If it doesn't, I'm not going to force the point. Okay, well it's coming up a bit, but we're colliding with some plastic work. I think that'd be enough though, for me to be able to drop a little bit of oil down that shaft and get it lubricated. Right. Now, in an ideal world, maybe I'd have taken it off and cleaned the shaft more, but I mean taking this assembly off, which might have been trivial, or it might have put something out of alignment. Okay, that arm is now good. Hopefully it's engaging with what it needs to engage with underneath. I think it is. So I'll refit the main PCB that was above that, and then we can try again. And don't you just love the way this Sony gear is built? You know, it's been designed to be easy to work on. If you've ever worked on any professional JVC or Panasonic equipment, it's a different ballgame. Just for a moment, I'm going to put the bottom back on, at least with a couple of screws. Okay, we know we still have cassette carriage problems. We still have the arms not going in properly for the reel tables. But let's just put the large tape in and see if at least it will lace up. Power up. So we'll have to nudge the tape in. Whoops, wasn't expecting that. Right, now if I hit play, it plays. Right, a bit of progress. Let's see what we get on the TV. Nothing. I'm sure we had more than that earlier. Isn't that odd? We can't even get the menus on there, and we had that earlier. What have I done wrong? I'm not getting the menus on either. Feels like one step forward and two steps back, this. Let's try a different output connector. Nope, nothing. That's odd. I'm going to hit eject, get out of the menu mode. Now I'll power cycle it. I can't understand that. Why am I getting nothing? I'm sure I didn't miss anything out underneath. There's a little bit of rust along here, which isn't very pretty, but I'm not getting anything out of the composite video connector now. That board wasn't seated properly. I didn't touch that. I guess I must have. Okay, well, let's try again. Now we're getting something. Menus. Let's see if we get the menu up. Yes, okay. Right, now let's see if we can play a tape. Yes. It's a bit noisy. Sounds like the capstan's noisy, but it is working. Alright, that's a bit of progress. If I hit eject, I dare say it'll get itself into a pickle trying to eject. Yes, all that trouble. But that's progress. Okay, so we've made a little bit of progress with that deck problem. I think, even though we seem to have multiple faults, let's just work on the next one, which I think is going to be the drive from this motor. To what extent can I get to that? If I undo these screws, I don't think it's any timing I'm going to mess up here. So I can undo those screws, I think, and gain access to the motor. I think I can unplug it as well. I can unplug it from the main board. Good. Okay, so undo these screws. Should be able to take that off and have a look and see if the shaft has... well, the plastic drive is spinning on the shaft. And it might be that it's become damaged because it tried to load a small tape on top of the spools while they were in large setting as they are now. So, you know, like I say, we may have multiple faults going on here. But okay, we can get to that. So, should we take a look at this part under the microscope? Let's look at the drive from that motor. And oh yeah, what do you know, Sony? That's split. So I think what's happening is when it's loaded up, that just spins. The motor just spins and doesn't drive anything. I could just glue it on, but I wonder if I've got any suitable replacement gears. Let me have a rummage. Right, I keep these gears for Sony Beta video recorders. They're useful for this replacing this component here, which is used on later SL series from C25 onwards, HF100 and others, which transmits drive down from a loading motor down to the gear set underneath. They're also useful on the SLC9. There's a shaft with these at either end. Later they came up with brass gears to replace them. And I'm wondering if by chance that might be the same tooth pitch. Actually, it looks like it's not. No, that's not going to help us. Much coarser teeth. So, cancel that idea. We're going to have to go back to the idea of gluing it. I could just take this off and it'll take these other gears off at the same time. I won't take it all the way off. I think I'll just apply a little glue on the shaft, but not much, because obviously you don't want to touch the motor, and then push it on and apply some glue to the top and leave that glue to set and see where we are. Okay, so little glue down the end of the shaft, which will hopefully find its way down to the bottom, like so. And I need such a small amount at the bottom, even this cotton bud's much too thick. I have to apply it with something very thin. Okay, I think that's good. We'll leave the glue to set and see where we are in a little while. So after a little bit of cleaning up of glue from in between some teeth, I've got that, I think, working pretty well, so we can reassemble that back to the deck. It's a pretty straightforward affair, I think, to just sit that back on there, plug it into the main board, and hopefully the machine will now work at least with large tapes. But we still have the issue, I think, with the reels being stuck in the large tape position. So if everything works as I think it will, that will be our next thing to tackle. Okay, let's see what happens when I power it up. That was good. Let's put the tape in, see if it goes in cleanly. And plays. Perfect. There's a little bit of noise from the capstan, but you know, that might be normal. I'm assuming that's capstan noise. It might even be a gear in the take-up or supply spool. I don't know. I don't think it's bad enough to be a problem right now. Let's try eject. Good. This is coming along. But what happens when we try to load a small tape? Do the reels go in? I'll get you set up so you can see it. So what should happen when I put the tape in is that the first thing that should happen is you should see them go in. And if that doesn't happen, I need to hit eject quickly. So is it a case of there being asked to move and failing, which I think would give an error message, or is it that it's not detecting the tape size? I don't have a proper service manual for this machine, but I've managed to find just a little bit of information which is somewhat relevant. Looking at the deck here with the supply and take-up reel tables, we have this rack slide L here. And that's this thing, and it selects whether the reels are in the large position as they are now, or the small size tape there. Okay, and that, oh, I can't get back into large now. That is driven via this same motor that drives the carriage, but exactly how it decides what tape size it has, I'm not sure. And last night, and this was literally about 1 o'clock in the morning, I was messing about with this a bit, and I'd set the spools to the small position there and put a small tape in, and it wasn't a happy beast at all. And in fact, at one point I got it jammed up and it wouldn't come back. So a little bit scared about doing that. I don't know if I want to demonstrate it again. At one point I got into a terrible pickle. But shall I try to demonstrate it? So what we'll do is, we've got that in the small position. We'll put the tape in, and I'll manually wind the tape in. And you'd say now, right, there's a noise there, and I don't like that noise. I don't know what's causing that squeakiness. It sounds like something needs a bit of lubrication. Hear that noise? It's not very good, is it? Right. Oh, that's not right. It's not gone down. What should have happened is... it should have gone down. What actually happened is that the reels have gone back to the large size, and of course it didn't go down. And this is exactly what happens if it's powered up. So what's going on is the cassette going in somehow activates whether or not this lever is in one position or the other. And it's not clear to me sort of what lever does that. But obviously there's a bit of lever trouble that's causing it to always think that all tapes are large. So I need to see what's supposed to be different between a large tape and a small tape. There's going to be something on the carriage which activates whether this drive goes down to that slider or not. And I just don't have information from the service manual on how that is selected. Just take a look, shall we? Might it be helpful to compare this against the machine whose front carriage works and see how the same thing works on the other machine? So I think what's fascinating about this is this reel table drive, size drive, is purely mechanical. It's not done by a sensor that detects the tape size. It's done by putting the tape in and it going from here to this slider. So at the moment these on this mechanism that works are in a small size, and we put a big tape in and somehow that will get driven the other way. So as this is going that way, something about this large tape is causing it to engage with that L slider. Got it. It's this lever here. I don't know if you can see it, but this lever here either grabs or doesn't grab that L slider. So if it's a large tape, that lever is activated. Right, I'm going to hazard a guess that that lever is sticking on our target machine. Look, there's a note here about if you take the carriage off, make sure that reel shift is positioned near the centre before you put the carriage back. And I think what's happened is something has gone on the wrong, it's been assembled in the wrong sequence. Here is the lever that should grab or not grab that L slider. I think I'm going to have to take the cassette carriage off and have a closer look at that. So it says, reel shift position near the centre, front door is open when you take it off. Well, do you know that's true of lots of video recorders? You have to make sure the front door's off. And why is it squeaking horribly? Alright, let's take the carriage off. I don't know how to do that precisely because I don't have full service manual, but I'm guessing it's just going to be the screws that are obvious. So there's two at the back and there'll be some somewhere at the front. Let's do that. We're going to have to unplug this motor again from the main board. like just those 2 screws. Okay. Let's park the main machine out of the way for a moment. This is the mechanism here, which is responsible for selecting the small or large tape activation. And there's something wrong with that. I think I'm going to take the carriage off the other one because it's so easy, and have a look at that. So here's our J30. You know, we're not scrapping this. Well, not planning to, but I need to take a look at that part of the mechanism. I mean, in theory, I could swap the whole carriage over, but I've had this carriage do odd things. Sometimes cassettes get wonky in it. Oh, and just off your screen, one of the screws on the cassette carriage is chewed. So this has been played with in the past. Alright, take this carriage off and just look then at that same mechanism. Look, there's a spring on there as well as on the activating lever. So that missing spring is the reason that the other carriage is not working. So this is one we're trying to fix. That's spring loaded, that's not. So maybe a spring has just fallen off. Let's have a look at the good one and try to work out where that spring is attached. Well, I think I can take this part off, okay, and maybe see a little bit better. But I'm not sure if I want to take it off on the good, well, slightly better carriage. I think I'll take it off on the broken one because it's already broken. What's going to happen? Am I going to lose loads of stuff? No, that seems okay. Right, okay, so that's come off. We're not a lot closer to seeing that spring, are we? Or the lack thereof. It's all on the other side of this. No, well, since that didn't help, I'm going to put that part back on. I think I've seen the spring on the good one. And it's along the top. Let me see if I can point to it. It's along the top edge here. See, there's our metal actuator, and the spring is a long metal. Yeah, it's a long metal spring just sat on the top. That's anchored somewhere around here. Oh, in fact, you can see it. In fact, we can see it. See this spring here? The other end of that is what's pushing this down. Okay, so this spring here is the key. And it's riveted to the side of the deck, the carriage housing here. Okay, so we've found our spring. That's the back end of it, and the front end of it sits on the top of this slider. Right, let's have a look at our non-working one. Okay, here's the spring, and it's still riveted in place, but clearly one end of that is not sitting on here. I don't know why, but the far end of this spring here is not sat on that. Maybe it's just a case of getting it back into place. So this should be sat, this spring here should be sat on top of this, and it's all jammed up. I think this part here, the very top of it's got slightly bent and has got itself underneath its spring. Yes. Or rather, this is sitting on top of the spring instead of underneath it. Okay, now we understand the problem. It's very hard to see, but you might just be able to see that there's this part here is bent at the top and it's not sitting underneath this spring, it's pushing this spring over there. Okay, so I need to maneuver it and get it back underneath its spring. Yes, it's on top of its spring instead of underneath it. It'd be good if I could show you this in a microscope, but I'm fairly sure we will not get the microscope to see this. Yeah, because the distances are such that we won't get it in focus. Tricky. I'm just going to have to use a little bit of force, I think. What I think I'm going to have to do, unless I want to strip everything down, I don't, is very slightly push everything that way so that metal, top of the metal slider can get back under its spring. It's all pretty rigid and it doesn't want me to do that. But you can see that this is all bent. You know, it should be up and it's not. It's bent that way because of this being incorrectly set. This being incorrectly set, and it's all jammed. Yeah, that's definitely what the problem is. I'll see if I can capture it on the microscope for you. So I'm going to put this part here under the microscope so that you will be looking down into this area, and hopefully I can show you. Oh, by the way, now the carriage is fully forward. Okay, can you see this actuator here? That's the top of our slider that's supposed to actuate the large and small mechanism. And what it's sitting on, if I push it down, what it's sitting on there is this spring. But that spring is supposed to be on top of this slider, not as it is underneath it. So I need to find a way to get that up and this over the top of it, and that's quite tricky. So it can involve a certain amount of manipulation, I think. So again, that spring there needs to be on top of this slider. Right, let me work on that and see if I can just sort of maneuver it into place. I've got the carriage in the loaded position now, and I think I can show you under the microscope a little bit better, and this might be a better place for me to fix it. So here's our uppy downy slider here, and this is the spring we need to get it under. I'll show under the microscope. Here's our slider here, and here's its spring, as you can see, underneath it, which it should be above. And I think here I've got a lot more room. I can just pull this away and sit it under the spring. So just gently ease this away. And sit it under its spring. And there it is. Right, I think that is probably the machine fixed. So I'll drive it now into its ejected position. Which way is that? That way. Okay, so here's our machine. Make sure this slider is in that position, somewhere in the middle, I think it says. The reel shift is positioned near the center, which it is, and that the front lid is open, very important. Reconnect the motor. So I'm going to refit the screws and at least partly cycle it just by manually turning this motor before going ahead with powering it up. Okay, so with a small tape, hopefully it's grabbed that lever. Well, it must have done, because it's gone down. And the door is closed. Okay, I'm going to power it up and just put it into eject for a moment. It's got a Betamax tape, but it can play that. We've discussed that. So let's power up. Wait for a second to boot. We've done its own eject. That's good. And the table, the real table's at the front. Let's put a large tape in. Why is it spitting it back out? Why is that? Disappointing. Try a small tape. Doing the same thing. So I must have something slightly wrong somewhere that's causing it to think that the tape is not in when it is. I think it's something to do with those levers. Try that again. Oh, happier now. Okay, eject the small tape. So that's the first time that's worked, right, on this machine. And now try the large tape. Result. And just hit play and eject. Good. We can do some more testing now. But before I do more testing on that one, I would like to get this one back into good condition. So, slider in the middle, front door open, drop it into place. I can now show you, yes, that was the screw that came from this carriage, and it's been chewed up something awful by someone in the past. I don't know how he managed to chew up that screw. Alright, so this is the J30. Just for a second, I'll prove that it can load a tape. I haven't completely messed it up, but I did find that the small tapes were jamming on it anyway. They were just going in wonky. Anyway, let's try that one. So it's in... Oh, guess what I've forgotten to do? I forgot to reconnect the motor, so that wouldn't work. There we go. Right, this is the J30 with no display because the front display panel's been mashed up by somebody. Let's put a large tape in. And this one's also got a bad capstan motor. But that's all working as well as it was before, I think. But I think if I put a small tape in, it just gets itself all wonky and stops. There, like that. This is something happens here and it jams there. It's colliding with something, I think. Or the door opener is not quite set right and it's not opening the door. Okay, it's not worth me worrying about that for the time being because this machine is in a non-serviceable condition anyway right now. Yeah, so the small door opener is colliding with something here and not opening. Right, I won't spend any more time working on that one for a moment. So I'm still struggling with this problem that it will just hesitate until you've done that with the levers and then it will work. Okay, there's something wrong there, that shouldn't happen. Is it that it's not getting to the fully ejected position, maybe? Try the Betamax tape. No, it's working. Oh, that was odd. It just ejected it. It should have attempted to play it. Because these play Betacam oxide tapes. I don't know why that happened. And one thing I haven't tried yet is a digibeta, so I'll do that in a moment. Let's find one. Yeah, that's all working properly. So why wouldn't it accept the Betamax tape? No. Should be able to play that. Well, it wouldn't be able to play a Betamax recording, but it should be able to attempt to run the Betamax tape, because it could have a Betacam oxide recording on it. And certainly my other J3 does. Oh, something horrible has happened to that tape. That might be why it wouldn't play it. Oh, that's a bit of a mess. Oh, what a shame. That's a completely ruined Pro X tape. Let's try another one. Okay, let's try this one. These actually contain PCM digital audio recordings. That's correct. Of course, it won't play it. It won't know what to make of it. There's nothing on the screen at all. Good thing it didn't lace up with that greasy tape. That could have been quite bad. Right, I think I've managed to fix another fault. Unfortunately, I didn't record it, but I'll show you what it was. Do you remember we had the problem earlier that once you'd ejected a tape, it would sometimes not take the next tape in, it would just spit it straight out. Well, the problem was this slider here. I'll do that with the power off, shall I? This slider here that tells it when a tape has gone in was sticky. It wasn't sliding cleanly along, and see that one, it was when I let go it would go ugh, and slowly creep back. So that required just a tiny bit of lubricant, and this is one of the very rare occasions I actually used WD-40 on a video recorder just to help that slide along there better, because it's just the right grade of lubricant. Didn't want anything thicker than that to help that slide properly along. And since then it's been perfect, so I can load and unload as many tapes as I like, and it doesn't do that thing where it spits it straight out again. I wanted to show you a feature which I'd never realised existed on these. You can set these PF1 and 2 buttons up to have different functions. So let me show you. One of the functions you can have is to identify the tape type. So if we pop in, this is a Betacam SP, and then press PF1, it says Betacam SP. Then if we pop in a digibeta, press PF1, it says digibeta. Mind you can kind of hear it, can't you, because of the higher speed of the head drum. And if we put in a Betamax tape, shall we say, which would be Betacam oxide, if it had such a recording on it, and press PF1, it says Betacam, no SP. Really, you'd probably expect these lights to come on. You know, you'd expect them to have lights behind it, these markings, but they don't. So presumably it'll also say IMX. You know, I've never come across an IMX tape. I've had a number of Betacam SX tapes, but never IMX. But really, it'd be nice if they'd had lights built into the back of that to tell you what the tape type was. But okay, just press one button and you can soon find out. Right, this machine is good to go back together now. It really is in full working order. I will also demonstrate some of its playback on the TV in a moment. One thing I need to be a little bit careful with, I can see in the past that the earthing, these sort of earthing straps at the back here, Some of those have got a little bit chewed up, so I need to be quite careful putting the lid back on. Right, if I fit all 6 screws in the sides, I'll be short of screws to reassemble the J30. Okay, I've reassembled it. I've only put in screws at the front and back, not the middle ones, because otherwise I think I'm going to run out of screws to reassemble the J30. This one, oh, we wanted to look at the head hours. I haven't done that yet, so I'll do that in a moment. This little bit of information that I managed to get from the service manual was helpful. It kind of got me going in the right direction of this slider at the top here and how that connects to the carriage. So it's quite an unusual design that the carriage sliding actually sets the real table size. Right, one of the things I've done in the menu is I've switched on the colour bars, just the thing I like. So how do you get to there? You go down here and there's options for, there we go, internal signal generator, and there's also under the audio section internal signal generator for that. So we've set 1 kilohertz and 75% bars, and also within here you can set what you want the PF1 and PF2 buttons to do. SDI out character, so that's superimposing on the SDI output, no, because I'll be doing the digital capture on SDI. This is the one you can select 525 and 625. Let's all look through here. Drum hours 463. This is a super low hours machine. It's had very little use, so it should give us lots and lots of life. There we are. PF1 key format, PF2 remote. I'm not sure what that does. Let's hit that one. Oh, remaining, that's what it means. Remaining time. So you can have tape running time or remaining time. I think I'll have running time on that one. And still video time at 20 seconds. I always set that very low. I don't want the machine sat there just running the heads against the tape for any length of time. It's just not something that I need and want, because I don't leave the machine set up ready to roll for a long time while I'm trying to set up other machines, which you might do in a studio, but I don't. Right, so we can get out of the menus. So this was a, oh, we tried that earlier. That's an analogue Betacam SP NTSC. Let's pop in a digibeta. Hit play. And any imperfections are on the original recording. And press the PF1 button. It says digibeta. Another digibeta. Fantastic, superb quality. There's a digibeta recording that I made on my Digital Betacam camcorder. That's my young son Scott. A little while ago I was sent these. It's a set of Betacam alignment tapes. Digital Betacam Sony alignment tape. So this has got audio levels on it, that one. Let's just try that. Okay, so color bars and -20. But that's going to be precisely -20. So then that'll be followed by 0 dBm, I think. Yes. That's quite loud. Right, so that's a interesting thing. I think I'll rewind that. There's a whole heap of different audio recordings on that one. So this is for tracking, I think. I'm not sure if we'll see anything when I play this. It's triggering the head cleaner because it doesn't know what to make of the signal. While that one rewinds, let's have a look at the last one. New for tape path, it says. So if ever you change the heads in your Digital Betacam machine, these tapes are what you need to align it. and it'd be no fun at all. It'd be quite a difficult job, I think. Okay, again, we're not going to get anything visible on this one, and it's triggering the head cleaner, so we'll save that one. So the only one of those I could duplicate would be this one that's got the audio levels, because you could make a digital dub of that onto another recorder, which I have plenty of, and it would be an exact copy, I believe. Though, of course, it will have been recorded on a guaranteed, known, correctly tracked machine. Right, so it was interesting to have a look at those as well, wasn't it? So we had a machine with multiple fault syndrome. And what were they? There was a lubrication issue on a guide arm, so it wasn't swinging properly, and so the tape path was all wrong. Then secondly, the drive from the carriage motor wasn't getting through reliably because the plastic gear on the end of the motor was spinning because it's split. Very common problem with these series of machines. And then finally, well, almost finally, it wasn't selecting large and small tape sizes properly because a spring had got on the wrong side of a lever deep inside the cassette carriage. And then finally, we had some levers on the right hand side that weren't returning to their home position properly, and so was causing a problem with it spitting tapes out as soon as they were inserted. All of those have been solved, and this machine with very low head hours has been saved from being junked. So I think it's been a great success. I'm really pleased with this. Now this one has SDI output, which is ideal for video capture. I can either capture that directly using SDI capture cards, or for customers who only want DV stream, sometimes I have trouble talking them into even taking a file that large, then we can go via an SDI to DV bridge to give DV stream and DV AVI files. That's one thing that I wouldn't have needed if I'd been able to fix the J30, and maybe one day I will, because that has FireWire built in as standard. Right, I hope you've enjoyed what we've done here today. It's been quite interesting, I think. I'll do plenty more content on audio and video technology in the near future. Bye for now. So as well as this J3 with SDI output, I already have one just like it down in my studio. So what to do with this? This is the original J3 that I bought many years ago. Oh, probably 13, 14 years ago. I paid something like £2,000 for this machine, the most expensive piece of kit I ever bought. And I used this for some time. And cosmetically it's in nice condition too. It's not been knocked around, it's been really well looked after. So this one has composite YUV and S-video outputs as well as balanced audio. So this one I haven't used in probably 2-3 years or more, and it's surplus. I just can't think of a use for it. There's no point it sitting around in my studio. So this J3, I've had it for some years. It's never broken down in all the time I've owned it, and it's in lovely cosmetic condition, but it's surplus to my requirements. I know it's not worth what I paid for it, the £2,000 all those years ago, but if somebody'd like to make me an offer, I think this one is probably best sold to somebody who can make good use of it.